We are recording.
We're recording. Hey, Josh.
Hey, what's going on, guys?
Hey, man. Josh, can you just introduce yourself a little bit for just our friends here at Beacon?
Yeah. So my name is Joshua Smith. I am the bar manager and head mixologist for Oak Eden Whiskey. So we are currently, you can kind of see behind me, this is our flagship station right now. This is our first brick and mortar that we've opened. But I handle all of our bar operations for the company, as well as all of our drink development, all that fun stuff. So I get to do all the R&D, all the inventory, all of that. So
That's awesome. How long have you been making drinks again?
On and off for for 8 years or so. I did a stint in coffee, but before that, I moonlighted a little bit, and then I managed the bar for a cocktail program before I came here. So
That's awesome.
Probably, yeah, just about there.
You're the coolest.
Shelby's fangirling. So maybe you can kind of tell us a little bit about these drinks, and then we can ask you questions if you if we lose you or something.
Yeah, absolutely.
That way that people at home, when they watch the recording, they can follow along with you.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
So do your thing.
So we're do what now?
She said, "Do your thing."
Do my thing. All right, perfect. So we're doing 2 drinks today. So we're going to do an old fashioned and a daiquiri. So we're going to keep them pretty simple. I wanted it to be fairly easy to follow along and for people to make them at home. And they're 2 of my go-tos for sure. So for the old fashioned, I mean, it's a super classic cocktail. Everybody knows the old fashioned. We're going to be using angostura bitters in there. We're going to be using a simple syrup just for a little bit of sweetness. Whiskey. And so for ours, I like to use our rye whiskey for Oak Eden. So that's what I'll be doing in this one. It has just enough of that like signature kind of rye bite in there. It's that higher rye wheat content that gives it a little bit of spice. And that balances the sweetness out a little bit. And then we just garnish it with an orange peel. Keep it super simple.
Hey, Josh, why don't you use is there a reason that you guys don't use your bourbon or use a different type of whiskey? Is there a reason that you prefer the rye over the bourbon specifically?
Yeah, it all does come down to preference. When you're looking at all spirits, not just whiskey, it comes down to the mash bill. And so what that is basically it's the percentage of different grains and cereals that are going into your spirit. Basically, it's what you're distilling down to get your whiskey. So like our rye, for example, is a 95% rye wheat rye. So that other 5% can be corn, it can be whatever, but it's 95% of that wheat. Which means you're going to get a lot more. That wheat is what gives it a lot more spice, whereas your corn, per se, and like your bourbon, generally gives it a little more sweetness.
Got it.
So that's what I prefer in mine. There's kind of a wrong way to do an old fashioned, but there's no way. Like you can pick your own. You can pick your own spirit, and it's going to be great regardless. That's just my personal preference, and that's why I do it for our house old fashioned here.
Cool.
But yeah. So we can go ahead and get moving on that one, and then we can talk about the daiquiri afterwards.
Yeah, it's awesome. Perfect.
If you want to send this cocktail to me in Denver, I would very much appreciate it.
Yeah, you'll just freeze dry it, mail it. Yeah.
Mail it over.
Yeah, it'll be like the what is it, like the spaceman ice cream where it's just all freeze dried in the bag. Yeah,
perfect.
Exactly. Perfect. Perfect. So for our old fashioned, we're going to start with angostura bitters. Bitters are basically your spice rack for your bartender. You have 2 types. You have lifting and binding. So your lifting ones are going to be your lighter ones, like orange per se. So that's when you have a very kind of a big muddled cocktail and you need something to kind of brighten it just a hair without adding another big ingredient. You can drop those lifting bitters in there. Whereas your binding bitters pull everything together. So you've got a bunch of individual ingredients and you're thinking, okay, well, this needs something else. You can use angostura, for example. So these are the big ones. You can find these just about anywhere. I mean, you can find them at the grocery store most of the time. I got mine at Walmart today. But you can get them just about anywhere. So you're going to take 4 dashes of these. So 1, 2, 3, 4. You're going to use your syrup. So this one is a Demerara syrup. So it's a darker sugar. You can also use regular simple syrup, which is just white sugar and hot water. It's going to taste great either way. This is just what I prefer. So this is a rich simple. So when you're making this, it basically means you're using twice as much sugar as water in your simple. So it's just a 2-to-1 ratio, twice as much sugar as water. Boil it down, and then that's your sugar. So it's super easy to make at home. But you're just going to take a bar spoon of that. So just pour a little bit in there, and then dump that off. If you're using just a regular simple syrup, I normally add like a 1/4 ounce.
So a regular simple syrup is when you make it, and that's just 1-to-1. So like a cup of sugar to a cup of water.
Correct.
Okay, cool. So we're just basically adding twice the sugar to the water that we would normally do in a regular simple. Got it.
Exactly. And this particular sugar, this Demerara, is just darker. It generally kind of vibes a little better with the whiskey. It gives it a little more depth. Like I said, it's also really great when you're just using a regular, just white sugar simple.
Okay.
This is just what I like to do.
Okay.
But then you're going to take 2 ounces of whatever whiskey you want to do. Like I said, I like to do the rye. So this is the rye from Oak Eden. So just 2 ounces of that right there.
Awesome.
If you're feeling really brave, you can add more. It's up to you.
Hey, that's a good idea.
And then you're going to stir this. Before I do this, I use big cubes with our old fashioned. You can also use regular ice. It all depends. But I'm going to grab that cube real quick. I'll be right back.
Okay, great. Dying to drink this.
You can make one after this.
I'm gonna have to. I'm also gonna ask him if we can get it or if we have to order it.
Oh, Oak Eden?
Uh-huh.
I think we can get it here.
So this is that cube.
Oh, awesome.
Nice.
They are, so you can use regular ice or you can use these. You can buy a mold for this for, it's like $10 on Amazon. Not bad. And you can build, 4 to 10 of them depending on which one you get. So I just like to drop that right in there, let it do its thing, let it melt down a little bit. So when you're stirring your drink, dilution is important. If you understir it, you're gonna have a super sharp old fashioned. If you overstir it, you're gonna have a super watered down one. So if you've ever been to a restaurant, you've ordered an old fashioned, and it's been half water by the time it gets there, it's because it sat on the bar and all the ice melted while it was sitting.
Yeah.
So you don't want to overstir it. My rule is generally give it about 40 to 50 stirs, depending on what ice you're using. If you're using just regular cubes, I'd say give it 35 to 40. If you're doing like a big cube like this, give it about 50. So add your ice in there. I like to keep mine roughly a third full, give or take.
Nice.
They're such pretty glasses too. I'm like so into them.
They are some of the bougiest glasses.
How involved were you with the design of the actual bar itself, and not just the drinks?
So I was fairly involved. I did a lot of consulting for Oak and Eden before I came on.
Oh, cool.
And so I was able to give my input on, how you want to build your bar out and a little bit on your glassware, bar tools, stuff like that.
Nice. Very cool.
So what you're going to take now, this is called a julep strainer. Everybody probably has seen these. Any sort of strainer will do. You just want to try to keep your stirring ice out of your drink. Just going to put it right like that. Pour it in, and this ice hasn't quite melted down the way I wanted to yet. So we're just going to give him a little bit of a stir, just to get it down in the glass. That's the only thing, is that my big cubes are too big for my old-fashioned glass, so it needs a little bit of love.
Nice.
There we go. And then a lot of people throw cherry in their old-fashioned. There's nothing wrong with that. I don't like to do it because I like to let the whiskey shine a little bit more. If you want to throw a cherry in there, you can. I just like to garnish it with an orange peel. So there's one peel, just like that. So what you're going to do is you're going to keep the pith on the inside here. You're going to grab it just like that. So peel on the outside, pith on the inside, and you're going to express these oils from the surface over your drink. Just give it a good spritz. Going to rim the glass with the outside where all the oils were. And then you're just going to drop it right in. So basically what that allows you to do is add a really nice aromatic on that cocktail. It just brings a little bit more in there. It's your old fashioned.
Oh, that looks so pretty.
Delicious.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. So that is
You guys
the
distribute.
old fashioned.
Do you guys distribute your spirits up to Colorado, or do we need to order your Oak and Eden stuff online?
You should be able to get it in Colorado. We've been in Colorado for a minute now. Big guys. So if you guys have like a Specs or a Total Wine, that you can absolutely get us there. And then we've also made our ways into the smaller stores up your way as well.
Awesome.
But yeah, we're in 22 states right now, I believe.
Oh, awesome.
So you should be able to get a hold of us. Yeah, we're up there for sure. Yeah.
Cool. Well, if any of our
And then-
listeners are looking for one, we've got Mile High Spirits right over there in Belmar and Lakewood, and then
Tipsy's might have it.
yeah, Tipsy's Liquor World will almost definitely have it. That's right off of 470 in Bowles.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, so that'll be good probably.
Awesome.
If it's not,
Awesome.
if it's not, I'm gonna have to just go on a big hunt.
And you can also find us online as well. So as long as you can legally ship spirits in, then you should be able to find us. We're on a few of those sites as well. So we're pretty easy to get hold of.
Awesome. Cool. Thanks, Josh.
Yeah.
Okay, next
problem.
up is the daiquiri.
Yes. So we actually don't make a rum. I would love for us to make a rum. We don't right now. So what I like to use is the Plantation 3-star. So that right there. Any white rum will do. Any darker rum will do. If you want to do something darker, I just like to use this. So it's a blend of Trinidad, Jamaican, and Barbados rums, all blended together. Super, super tasty. But this is the 3-star from Plantation. I've got some very good friends that work for them. They turned me on to this. It's delicious. So we're going to start. Make sure your glass is chilled here. So just a little bit of ice in there just to start, let that glass cool.
Does the cooling of the glass just kind of provide a more stable environment for the drink once it goes in, or does it do something different? like specifically?
That it's for a more stable environment. It's also just for a more pleasant experience.
Cool.
I've gone out a few times and ended up with, be it, you know, out freshly out of the washer and sanitized or whatever it was. I've gotten some cocktails before that it was a great cocktail, but it was in a very warm glass. And it's a little weird. It's kind of a weird vibe. And so part of it is that you absolutely want to create a stable environment for your beverage. And then the other part is just, if I'm drinking a cool drink that's not going to have ice in it, I want that glass to be chilled.
Cool.
So I didn't bother pre-chilling the glass with the old fashioned because it has a giant rock of ice in it. But if it's like a stem drink or something that doesn't normally have ice in it, I always try to chill.
Awesome. Cool. Thanks.
Yeah, no problem. So we're just going to let this guy just chill right here. So we're going to start off lime juice. So I use fresh squeeze. If you want to, you can also buy the little plastic lime juice things from the store. It's easy either way. I like the fresh lime juice because it has a little more of a bite to it without being super funky like some of those bottled ones are. I always try to go fresh. So just 3/4 ounces of lime. Something else, and this is also just kind of a drink building 101 type of thing. When you're building your beverages, you always want to try to start with the cheapest ingredients first. Because if you screw it up for whatever reason, if I dump, you know, a full ounce of syrup into this instead of a 1/4 ounce, you know, anything like that, it's much easier to dump that out, and I don't feel bad about wasting a bunch of whiskey I just poured in there.
Right.
As opposed to just your lime juice or your syrup or whatever.
Yeah.
But so you're going to start with 3/4 ounces of lime juice.
That was
3 ounces of lime juice. We're doing a triple. We're batching a triple. You're going to do a 1/2 ounce of simple syrup. So this one is just that regular simple that I was talking about. So just equal parts sugar and water, heated until it all dissolves. That's your syrup. So a 1/2 ounce of that. And then 2 ounces of your rum.
Oh, this sounds so good. I'm like freaking.
And so I really wanted to get a nice difference between these two, you know, between your light and your refreshing and then your heavier kind of colder weather, old fashioned type of situation. So especially as, you know, I hope to God we don't have 8 more weeks of winter or whatever it is. But if we do, keep sipping on that old fashioned until it warms up, then you can grab it down.
I like to think of myself as a guy who's like, oh, I'm a man's man. I'm gonna drink an old fashioned. But when it comes down to it, I really like my fruity little daiquiris. I like putting little curly straws in it. You know, I can't help myself.
Dude, I'm here for it. Like if it tastes good, I'm gonna drink it. I don't care what it looks like. I'll get the guys that'll come in and like, I want this in a man's glass. I'm like, well, you're a man, so you're gonna drink the drink that I gave you. Like that's just like I'm not gonna
look into my eyes and tell me that I'm not a man. I think this is a great drink.
I love that.
Awesome.
But so you're gonna throw some ice in there. Again, I try to keep my tin on this one about 3/4 of the way full with ice. It depends on your cubes. And then you're going to shake. So when you shake, you want to make sure that you're rotating your ice in your shaker as opposed to pulverizing it because it's going to affect your dilution. So if you're just hammering it back and forth and you end up with a bunch of crushed ice in here, it's going to water it down a lot more. So everybody kind of has their own individual shake, but you want to make sure that your ice is kind of rolling in your tin instead of hammering back and forth. So for mine, I just do just kind of a back and forth, up and down.
Oh, cool.
Making sure that that ice is rolling all the way through. So when you're done, you want to have your square cubes. You don't want them to have corners anymore. You want them to be kind of spherical. So give that a shake for, 20 seconds or so, 15 to 20 seconds, depending on how hard your shake is. You're going to dump out your ice because this glass is adequately chilled. Then if you're not picky, it doesn't matter. I like to double strain mine. So you're going to have your main strainer here, and then you're going to have a mesh strainer here. This catches all the extra ice chips that are going to come out of your shaker.
Shelby's singing to herself. This looks so good.
I just miss your drinks, Josh, so much.
It's like the thing we miss most about Texas is you making us drinks.
Well, when the world isn't ending and I make a trip up there, I'll bring all my gear and I'll make you some.
Yeah.
That sounds great. You guys can stay with us for free.
Perfect. We'll make cocktails for lodging. And that's really that, guys. Like, that's your daiquiri right there. If you want to, you can throw on like a lime wedge or a lime wheel or anything like that.
Cool.
It's up to you. You can get as fancy or as basic as you want to with it. The fun thing about the daiquiri is that you can dress it up or dress it down. So you can throw in different types of rum if you want to. You can play with, different sugars. You can play with the presentation if you want to try to make it something a little bit different. It's a very versatile drink.
It seems too like you could almost like throw in like strawberries or mangoes or something like that in there and like just
exactly
something completely unique.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So you can do, I've made plenty of strawberry daiquiris. It's also really fun if you get like a pineapple rum or something like that and throw that one in there. Anything along those lines. Like, it's super easy to play with. It's a really nice, just base cocktail that you can play with if you want to. So, yeah.
That's awesome. I think I'm gonna have to make that one. We have rum, so we can make that one right after this. Oh, okay. So rapid fire question round. Okay. And then we can let you go. Okay. So I've heard that there's like a basic, like I don't know if it's like 3 or 4 or 5. Like, how many basic types of cocktails are there? Am I completely crazy that there's basic types of cocktails?
No. You've got. Shoot, you're putting me on the spot. I believe it's 5. You've got 5 base types of cocktails. Everything, when it comes down to it, everything is kind of a riff of a riff of a riff, which is super fun with like the daiquiri, because like a daiquiri, so lime, rum, sugar, is just about the same spec as like a gimlet, which is gin, lime, and sugar. And then you can play off anything from, so you've got all of these different base cocktails you can play with. If I try to name all of them off right now.
That's okay. You don't have.
You've got, you've got your old fashioned, you've got your daiquiri, you've got like a sidecar, which is cognac based. Your flip, which is basically an egg based cocktail. So you're taking, normally, again, it'll be with cognac or something like that, mixed with some other spirits, and you're throwing an entire egg in there, so it's very rich, very creamy. And then, like I said, you put me on the spot, and I can't think of the other ones. There are 5 to 6 base spirits that are base cocktails, rather, that everything else is kind of, they're the granddaddies of all of them as far as the builds go, and then everything else branches off.
Awesome. Nice. Okay, and so where is Oak Eden located?
So our flagship is located in Bridgeport, Texas. So it's about an hour and just short of an hour and a half northwest of Dallas.
Okay, cool.
So we've been in the market for about 3 years. So like I said earlier, we're in 22 states, but this is our first brick and mortar location. So we're out here in Bridgeport.
What's your favorite drink of all time ever? And where did you get it?
That's a very good question.
Or maybe an easier one would be, what are you drinking right now, and what inspired that? Or are those completely different questions?
I'll answer both of them because they're a little different. I like to bounce around, and I don't stick with one thing for long. When I'm trying out a new bar or something like that, I'll normally go for something rum based because it's I feel like it's easier to see what their program is doing from something that orders less. So it's like you can go anywhere and get a decent old fashioned. But if I go in somewhere and I order a daiquiri, that kind of tells me what they're doing with all of the other spirits that people don't pay as. Obviously, if it's a tiki bar or something, that's a different story. But
Tiki bars.
I love me some tiki. I love me some tiki. I think one of my favorites ever was actually at it's a bar called Nightjar in London. And it was like the Call of the Sea, I think. And it's just going there as well as like Death and Company, so in Denver and in New York, and then Dead Rabbit in New York as well. Those three kind of melted my brain as far as the way you like look at drinks and service and everything else. So the one at Nightjar, I think it was called like the Call of the Sea, but it was a oyster infused gin with like sea salt, and it was super, super, super savory. It had a lot of that umami in there. But what was cool is they served it in this conch shell, which was bizarre. And then on top, they put like seaweed air on it. So it was literally like seaweed infused like bubbles that were on the top. And it was wild. It was super cool. So I think that's probably, from like a creativity standpoint alone, that's probably one of my favorite drinks I've ever had. What I'm drinking right now is I'm drinking a lot of agave right now. So like a lot of mezcal in particular.
Yeah.
So I've been playing with a couple cocktails that are mezcal based in there. So you get kind of that funky, earthy, sometimes like sweet, smoky type of situation. But honestly, I'm drinking more straight spirits right now than I am cocktails. So I would say mezcal and just kind of all things agave are kind of where I'm sitting at the moment.
Awesome.
Hey, Karen. We are actually recording this so everyone on Active Building and Modern Message can have this after. But we are rounding our time.
Yeah, we're
with
rounding it up.
Josh. So you can get all of like his recipes for the old fashioned and the daiquiri on Active Building, and then we'll post this again on Active Building and Modern Message.
Yeah.
Oh, hello.
So
Hey, Catalina.
we just want to say thank you so much, Josh. We really appreciate your time and really appreciate that you came on to talk to us. Josh, you are awesome.
Yeah.
And we appreciate you a lot.
Yeah. Hey, Catalina, real fast, I was just telling Karen that you'll be able to find this video, since we're recording, all on Active Building and Modern Message. And we're rounding our time out with Josh.
Yeah.
So you can find everything there since the event started at 7.
Cool. Well, we really appreciate you, Josh. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course.
Hey, love you guys. Really great to talk to you guys. And I promise as soon as I can make a trip up y'all's way, I'll holler at you guys.
Yes.
Awesome.
Please do.
All right. Love you, bro.
Bye.
Love you guys. Y'all take care.